Hello everyone, I'm Myun, a tour guide in Seoul. I'd like to introduce Changdeokgung Palace today. Changdeokgung Palace was built in 1405 as one of the detached palace and the temporary palace of Joseon Dynasty. And the Changdeokgung Palace was most beloved by the kings of Joseon Dynasty. It is common for most palaces in the world, including Korea, to be built in a huge way, boasting the dignity of the king. But Changdeokgung gave up the dignity of the king and chose harmony with nature. Therefore, the buildings of Changdeokgung minimized the damage of nature and were arranged according to the natural terrain. For example, the main buildings of Gyeongbokgung Palace, which is the main palace, are arranged vertically from south to north on flat terrain, while the layout of Changdeokgung Palace is informal. It was to minimize the damage of nature. This palace was first built in 1405, destroyed by several fires, and then rebuilt repeatedly. However, it is relatively well preserved and was built according to the architectural technology of Korea now. So Changdeokgung Palace was designated as World Cultural Heritage by UNESCO in 1997. Then let's see the main buildings one by one. And at the end of the video, let's appreciate the rear garden of Changdeokgung Palace, which is called the Treasure of Changdeokgung. Donamun Gate is located in the southwest of the palace. The gate has 3 square doors made of wood, which are different from the 3 arched doors made of stone in Gyeongbokgung Palace. This is a traditional Korean style of architecture that has been in existence since ancient times. Once we pass the Donamun Gate, we face the Kumcheonggyo Bridge first on the right. Under the bridge, there are 2 sculptures of sacred animals, Haechi and Turtle. Haechi is said to judge right or wrong, and good or evil as a mythological animal. Therefore, it was thought to be a sacred animal that eats evil spirits on the bodies of people entering the area. Kumcheonggyo Bridge was first constructed in 1411 and has not been demolished and has been well preserved to this day. Injeongjeon Hall was used to hold national ceremonies such as receiving foreign envoys, New Year greeting to the king, ascending the throne, holding royal weddings, and so on. Inside the Injeongjeon Hall, there are modern decorations such as glass windows, light bulbs, and curtains, which were redecorated in 1907 when King Sunjong, the last king of Korea who had stayed at Deoksugung Palace, moved here. The ceiling of Injeongjeon Hall is decorated with phoenixes, adding to the dignity of the main hall. As you can see, the roof of the hall is decorated with the flower of plum tree patterns. This flower symbolizes the royal family of Joseon. It is a unique decoration that cannot seen on the roofs of other buildings. On the roofs of most buildings, there are various sculptures like these, which function are to protect the residents of the house by chasing evil spirits. These sculptures are the embodiment of characters from the famous Chinese classic novel, The Journey to the West, such as Tripitaka, Monkey King, Pixie, and Sandy. It is said that an emperor in ancient China had nightmares about ghosts throwing roof tiles at him every night. So he had sentries to stand guard on the roof. Later, these miscellaneous things replaced the sentries. That is the origin of the miscellaneous things. Seonjeongjeon Hall was used as the king's office. Kings used to discuss national affairs with their subjects here. The civil officers were on the left, and the military officers were on the right of the king. The roof of this building is characterized by its only blue color. Hejeongdang Hall was the king's bedchamber. Unfortunately, when I visited Changdeokgung Palace, there was a problem with filming because there was a repair work in Hejeongdang Hall here. I apologize for this. Hejeongdang Hall was also destroyed by the fire in 1917. As it was newly built, the interior was modernized and the roads were built to allow cars for the king to enter and exit. So it looks completely different from the original look. Built in the turbulent history of the early 20th century, Hejeongdang Hall combines traditional Korean architecture with modern architecture to create a very curious atmosphere. Daejeon Hall here was the Queen's bedchamber. The current building was built in 1917 after being demolished by fire several times. This place has a sad history of modern Korean history, as much as the history of fires. In 1910, Japan Empire forcibly signed the Treaty of Korean-Japan Annexation with the Korean traitor Lee Won-yong in Daejeon Hall here. This forced Korea to go through 36 years of Japanese colonial period. Naksanjae is the place where a pitiful but noble couple, Iun and Lee Bang-ja, passed away. In 1910, Japan robbed Korea of its sovereignty by signing the Treaty of Korea-Japan Annexation. So Korea became a colony of Japan. And then Japan attempted to turn Korean people into Japanese people in order to fully absorb Korea. Japan forced the Korean people to change their names to Japanese names and forced them to speak Japanese instead of Korean. And also, Japan tried to claim that Korea and Japan were one nation by forcing a royal woman of Japan to marry Korea's last crown prince. That's how the couple was born, Iun and Hasako. After the two married, Hasako changed her name to a Korean name, Lee Bang-ja. But Korean people blamed Iun for marrying a woman from the enemy country. and the Japanese regarded the couple as just a political tool. This poor couple was blessed by no one. On August 15, 1945, Japan lost the Pacific War, and Korea was liberated from Japan. With the end of the 500-year-old Joseon dynasty, Korea became a republic under the presidential system. Naturally, the couple were no longer royal status. Neither Korea nor Japan welcomed the poor couple. The couple, who devoted the rest of their lives to helping the disabled, was born in the great turmoil of the history and ended their noble lives here in Naksanje. The buildings here in Naksanje don't have dancheon, the traditional Korean decoration. They only give off a humble and novel feeling. The doors here offer a wide variety of framed pictures depending on the points of view. The patterns on the doors here are all different, adding to the aesthetic value of the buildings. In addition, these patterns in the sun would turn rooms into artwork. The rear garden of Changdeokgung Palace is located north of the palace, and it was the secret garden of the king. It shows well the gardening arts of Koreanon, handed down from ancient times. The rear garden features that the buildings and the artificial ponds were designed to minimize the damage of nature and to harmonize with nature. Kings used to relieve stress and fatigue from their excessive daily work here. The reason why kings loved Changdeokgung more than other palaces was because of the beauty of this garden. Originally, this place was a secret garden where only the king and a few officials could enter. However, King Jeongjo, the most reformative king of Joseon, built an academic research institute and a library here in 1776 and trained talented people. He had a great love for the people. In Joseon, where Confucianism was the foundation of society, King Jeongjo used to agonize with his servants here over whatever it was to enrich the lives of the people, including science, practical science, agriculture, commerce, and etc. He used to enjoy fishing with his servants here at Buyongji Pond, and sometimes asked various questions to them. If someone failed to answer his question, the person had to be isolated for hours on the round island over there as the penalty. By this playful way, King Jeongjo laid down his authority as king and treated his subjects as their mentor and their good friend. His subjects also respected him sincerely. So far, we have looked at the main buildings of Changdeokgung Palace and its rear garden, which is called Treasure of Changdeokgung. In the Joseon Dynasty, King advocated politics that lowered their authority by partially delegating their power to their subjects. I think, therefore, the design of Changdeokgung Palace perhaps chose to conform to and harmonize with nature, rather than go against it. Changdeokgung Palace served as a main palace for the longest period in the history of Joseon. Changdeokgung Palace was designated as a World Cultural Heritage by UNESCO, making it a valuable heritage that we humans should jointly preserve. Thanks for watching the video. I will come to you with another useful video. See you next time, and thanks for like and subscribe.